Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Fenex pub. It's Friday, beers at the ready, and we have a special guest this evening. We have Abigail Adams from Northumberland Glass. Good evening, Abby.
Oh, good evening, Jason. Good evening, everybody.
It's Friday, so what we'll do is while people get notified, we will spread the word on social media and then we'll get right to it. How's your week been, Abby?
Oh, Jason, ask anybody in Fenestration how the week's been. I mean, come on, let's be real. What kind of response are you going to get?
It's
busy.
Yeah, that's the polite response, isn't it?
Yeah, that's being diplomatic.
That's the polite response. That's what you get a lot of now. Oh, how's this week been? Yeah, it's been busy.
Yeah.
And you can hear the grinding of real life. Just it's been busy.
Busy. There's not much else you can say at the end of every week. And of course, for a lot of us, as busy as we are, and being a really small installation company, Friday night doesn't always necessarily mean the end of our week.
This is it. This is it for the best part of, I would say, 18 months. It's been 7 days a week, would you say?
Yeah. Ever since the end of the first lockdown, we reopened on the 1st of June. And I don't think we were quite ready for the tsunami that was about to hit us. And it's not just been one wave of tsunami. It has just kept coming and coming and coming.
I think that's the best way to describe it. It's not been like a boom or a bounce back. It's been a tsunami where it's just relentless.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
If you're a surfer, it's the ultimate wave.
Oh, yeah, I like that. Oh, yeah, I like that a lot. I'm nicking that one. I'm nicking that one. Right, let's just put this on FaceTube, and then that's all of them done. There we go. That's fine. On there. Paste. Hannah's here from the Fenex crew. Hannah Howdle, good evening. Callum, I've just put the link on LinkedIn, Facebook and Twitter. So if you go to any of those, go on my page, you will see it right there. Right, that's fine. So I've got YouTube open, I've got Facebook open. Marvellous. So
we're all live everywhere, aren't we?
We're as live can be.
Excellent.
Michael says...
You've asked me...
Sorry, go on.
You've asked me how my week's been. Tell me how your week has been.
Busy. It's... Do you know what? It has been busy, but I felt like I've been productive. There's weeks where you think you don't get anywhere, or you think you've just looked at a screen and done nothing, and then there's weeks where you think you've... No, okay, I've actually done stuff. This week I feel like I've actually got somewhere. So I don't feel like I've got any further backwards. I don't feel like I'm any further forwards. I'm about stationary. Yeah. It's probably the best.
You've made it to the end of the week and you've got a few tick in the boxes.
Yes, that is the best way to describe it. Michael's saying that is the question in the that is the fenestration equivalent of asking the taxi driver what time he's on till. Yeah, he's right.
He's totally right. It's
he's
the first
right.
thing everybody does when they get a taxi at the end of the night. What time do you finish?
Yes, this is true. That's what it's become in the end. So
by the way, just one thing you haven't noticed. There's flowers behind me.
There is.
Yes.
Occasion.
Birthday.
Today.
No, actually, it was Monday. But yes, thanks for the happy birthday, Jason.
Happy birthday for Monday. I would have said what you're doing on here if it's your birthday tonight. That's real dedication if you're on there tonight.
Yeah, no, don't ask me how old I am because I'm probably actually old enough to be your mother. So, don't go there.
We'll not go there. It's fine. For anybody who's just joining us, Abigail Adams is our special guest this week. So Leah's off this week. Abby is, you've watched us for quite a while, I think, almost from the start, I believe, when we were on Periscope way back when.
Yep.
When my phone used to burn up under the battery pressure.
Enjoying watching yourself and Lee.
So Abby's watched us for a long time, contributed in the comment section on Facebook and YouTube, and it's nice to have Abby on as a guest tonight. And if she's better than Lee, she could do it every time, and we'll just kick Lee off. It's fine. So sorry, Lee, if you're watching, you might get replaced tonight. Never mind. Fradders is
all right, Lee. I'm not doing this regular. You're all right.
Fradders is in the house. Good evening, Fradders. How are you, Fradders? Fradders, Tommy's going to be watching tonight with a few glasses or something. So cheers, everybody, and happy Friday.
Chin to another Friday.
Got plenty of people coming in now. So, believe it or not, we do actually plan these things in advance, and we do have a number of topics and points that we would like to cover in amongst some more light-heartedness. But I think the key point that we have to address, because we cannot miss, is the supply chain and the dire state. If the supply chain was an animal, it would be probably a washed-up fish, half dead, missing fins, and an eye. That's where we're at. Abby, I don't know if everybody knows, but she runs as part of a business, a family-run business, Northumberland Glass Installations Company. And I think we're all feeling it a bit, aren't we, Abby?
You probably just made the understatement of the year, actually, there, Jason. Gosh, I mean, where do we begin with supply chain issues? I don't think there's any of us in the industry who can hold their hand up and say, no, I'm having a great time, thanks. I've experienced no supply chain issues. I've never waited 18 weeks for a composite door, only to have it delivered with the wrong glass or no glass, or one side to be grey and the other side purple. But
hold on, I feel like that's happened to you.
But I mean, but then the latest saying we've got in our office at the moment is nobody's died. And that's the only way we can really approach it. We can debate the source of all these supply chain issues. It's not even just nationwide, it's worldwide. And there's nothing we can really do about it apart from keep fighting, keep battling, and adapting how we, particularly installation companies, cope with it. And it's about managing expectation, and it's about managing expectation through to our customers. We no amount of getting on the phone to our fabricators or our suppliers and shouting and swearing at the poor staff is going to make no difference at all.
No.
And I've spoken to our suppliers, when girls in the office have had to phone me and say, Abby, I'm really sorry, this is delayed again, that's delayed again, this is missing, that's missing. And yeah, sure, it's frustrating. And I'll admit at times I've got a little bit cross. But, never have I kind of gone on the phone giving them lots of grief. I've just said to them, thanks for phoning me, thanks for letting me know, thanks for the communication. I appreciate the fact that you can't magic a composite door out of your backside. But you've told me, so I can now go and communicate that to the customer. But what we've been doing is being very, very transparent from the initial inquiry and making it very clear to customers, no, we will not give you an installation date until we've safely received all the components and parts into our warehouse.
Yeah.
Place the order, get it into production, prepare to sit tight.
That's what it's all about. I mean, we warn people because we've got 4 months, maybe a bit more, of work booked in. And we're saying, look, put your quote together, get the surveyor out. All that stuff happens really quickly. Then there is going to be this pretty large gap of silence between then and when we can come fit, because between now and then we have nothing to tell you. I says, I appreciate that that's not normal. I mean, we're dead honest with people. And I'm saying, probably like you from the start. I'm saying, look, do you need this in any mad rush? Because I said, because that ain't happening. Yeah. I said, we're 4 months away. I said, nothing's happening before Christmas. I had this one couple in, we need it before Christmas. I said, you should have come see me in July. And even then, it was a stretch. Is it that bad? I said, yeah. I said, everyone's in the same boat. I said, go down the road, go to your kitchen people, your builders. It's just nothing's happening before Christmas. Nothing.
Have you found, though, as the longer the supply chain issues have gone on, are you beginning, I know there's always going to be an element of what we call rogue customers. Are you beginning to find, because we are, that consumers are beginning finally now to realise, and they're actually beginning to understand, they're not surprised when you're telling them our installation schedule is next March?
Yeah, so it happened in 2 phases. At the beginning of the year, when we were sort of had 2 or 3 months of work ahead of us, obviously somebody seen us in March who could fit in June, July. And then by the time we got to July, it got to 4 and 5 months. But then the conversations with customers were changed. At the beginning of the year, they were unaware of problems. And then sort of the middle to back end of the year, people have become more aware of the issues and expectant of waiting longer. You still get the odd one who goes, oh, really? Is it that long? Most read the room and go, yeah, right, stuff's busy. It's going to take a long time. I know it's not going to be happening before Christmas. So thankfully, most people are reasonable. There's 1 or 2 who'll get a bit shirty about it. I don't know why. Oh, you can't before Christmas. Oh, well, that's
yeah, we're seeing it, but I think as it's beginning to filter through down all the consumer channels and all the consumer purchases that people make, you know, I mean, I know somebody I spoke to ordered the sofa and was expecting it to be kind of 10, 12 weeks, you know, and it's turned into 2024.
Is it that long for a sofa now?
It's unbelievable.
Wow.
Incredible. But obviously, I mean, you know, it depends how bespoke it is. So there again, our argument, you know, all our products are bespoke. You know, people say, I have had a couple of customers kind of say to me, is there nothing off the shelf we can buy?
Off the shelf?
Off the shelf.
Off the
Still
shelf.
happens. It's fine. You know, you just take your time, obviously, to explain politely, you know, that unfortunately windows aren't off the shelf. There's no particular standard size.
Do you not find it weird people still think you do off the shelf stuff?
Few and far between.
Like we've got every window, every possible measurement just in the back ready to go in every permutation. Yeah, let me just get that down from shelf. Yeah, here you go.
Yeah, hang on. That'll be in bay 4. Bucket 6.
I mean, it's just... Then
Hey,
again...
it'd be great, wouldn't it? The Argos of double glazing companies.
Yeah, if you can build a warehouse the size of NASA's, in Florida, you'll be fine. Every door, every product, every colour, every size.
So yeah, most customers, to be honest, are phenomenal. I really, we can surely kind of start to drill down and dig into the nitty-gritty of the supply chain issues. But from an installer's point of view, it's a problem. It's not going to go away in a hurry. You've got to adapt to manage it. And the key has got to be transparency and communication with your end consumer.
And it starts at the beginning, like you just said, and I've just said it myself. We're dead honest with people straight away. Because if you're not, I mean, whether they listen to you is a different matter. I mean, customers and listening to you is a whole other subject. But if you are honest from the beginning, say, look, it's going to take a long time. This is not normal. There's a lot of issues happening all at the same time. You're going to need to be patient. Set the tone, set the scene, and then they know their expectations become managed at the beginning.
Yeah.
I've got Michael in the comments from Aztec. We had a call from a homeowner who told us they binned off their window supplier due to delays and were looking for a new supplier who could manufacture and install new windows within the next what, Mike? Oh, a few weeks, so they can continue with their... In a few weeks? Nope. No. Yes, Hannah, people really do think we can get windows off the shelf. That is... But then again, and I've said this for years, I don't think we do a good enough job of... I mean, I don't mean installers. Installers do communicate to the public, but the industry, at industry level, at supplier level, we don't do a good enough job in communicating with the public. And I don't know why, because it's perfectly possible to do so. I mean, you look at, you've had haulage associations and supermarkets come on TV last couple of months ago and, there's going to be problems, guys. We can do that if we want.
I think, and this is one of my other bugbears that I'll raise about the industry. There's the industry in itself with a history of where PVC windows came from all through the, the white gold days. The industry is very disjointed. There's no united front from whether you go from the federations, the CPS schemes or whatever. Nobody has ever seems to me to be singing off the same hymn sheet.
Agreed.
At all levels, from the profile manufacturers down through the fabricators to the installers. It's always been very much traditionally like cutthroat industry. And at some point, to further improve the reputation, we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to find some united common front that we can improve the industry for the good of everybody involved. Because at the moment, supply chain's a classic example.
But there's no, like you said, there's no joined up voice, there's no united voice. I mean, I was speaking with somebody who's involved in the roofing sector, and they're not a large industry, but they actually have more industry bodies than we do. But when it comes to tackling an issue or tackling a problem, or when it comes to influencing government legislation, they're all able to band together, put differences aside, unite on a common position on something, and that makes their voice louder. In our world, you've got an organisation there, some group companies there, another organisation there, some people there, and we all have different things, different opinions, fighting against each other. So if you're government looking at us, you start going, they have no idea what they're doing.
Well, to be honest, you've got government and civil servants looking at the industry, basically looking at a bunch of squabbling children in a playground. It's just not professional. And when it comes to such things as changes in the building regulation, when it comes to such things as, government retrofitting
we couldn't even unite on that.
Yeah. We're nowhere. We're not going to be heard. I mean, you look at the Green Homes Grant Scheme, which, was just another whatever. But glazing was so insignificant because to many parts of the divisions of the government, we're not important because we've been not united. We haven't got that one common cause where we can put aside differences of opinion for the greater good.
I do think the issue with that as well, I mean, it was poorly timed because you were putting this scheme into, I mean, not just our sector, loads of sectors that were booming anyway. So they didn't need any more work because they couldn't cope anyway. So there was no financial interest there. Then it was too difficult to actually be part of. But one of the reasons why glazing was never involved, because if you remember, there was two lists, the primary list and the secondary list. We were on the pointless list, the secondary list. They're not going to put us on the first list because new windows and doors are the most expensive home improvement you can have. So we were never going to get on the secondary one anyway. So that just switched us all off completely. Callum Williams, are you offering to be the No. Am I offering to be the spokesperson to address the nation with Boris Johnson? No. My hair is better than his, though. I've even got Viking...
I'm sure you could manage that, Jason.
I've got Viking braids in now. There you go. No, Callum, I'll give that one a hard pass, I think. But no, all our industry bodies are too interested in profit and not the industry itself. You get that a lot. Got to say, and I'm not saying this because they're a sponsor, because I had this opinion before they were, but of all the ones that have performed well the last couple of years during this crisis, and I don't know if Abigail will agree with me, but Certas have been pretty good. I mean, you can look at their books. They're not a huge profit-making organisation anyway, but what they do is communicate incredibly well.
I'll agree with you on that, Jason. When we were all sitting at home during the first lockdown and none of us had a crystal ball, when you think back to it now, it was a particularly scary time. Nobody knew on a personal level where we were going to be when we came through it. Nobody knew, even could begin to consider where we'd be on a business or professional level. But Certas were there, they were on the ball. And as we came out of lockdown, they communicated, they produced documentation to support their installers. They were active on the trade association forum.
That forum's brilliant, by the way.
Yeah.
They post all the time. John posts, Danelle posts, people at the top of that business post regularly. Useful. It's not PR, it's not fluffy nonsense, it's actual information that tells you what's happening, why it's happening, how it's going to affect you. Stuff that's going to affect you.
Installers, but not only that, it's one of the few industry forums I've ever been on where no question is too silly, no question is too small, and the people that are also in the forum are other installers. You know, you get sense. You ask a question, you get a sensible answer.
Yeah,
you get support.
Unlike the other forums.
I'll not go there.
No. Oh man, there's some gold. Maybe later when we've had a few more drinks, there's some absolute gold dust in those forums. Oh dear me. No. But I mean, just to bring it back to the point about the supply chains. I mean, people ask when it will end. It will end when people stop spending in the volumes that they are. That's the simple fact of it. Labour problems have made it worse, and that still is a problem we have to solve. That's not going away. We've always had labour problems. But the rate at which people are spending money on everything was probably way beyond what anybody thought it would be. So that's just piled on top of an existing problem and broken everything down further. That being said, I do believe there's a slowdown coming, and I think it's coming fairly. And I wrote about this a week or so ago. To mixed opinions, some agreed, some didn't. I just think in the background you've got this huge cost of living squeeze, gas prices going up, food prices going up, inflation's going to spike very high, very quickly. Christmas is coming.
Fuel crisis.
Fuel crisis.
Apparently.
Well, we have a driver crisis. We don't have a fuel crisis. We have fuel. It's just not in the right place.
We don't have a driver crisis, Jason. We have a DVLA processing crisis.
That's right. Somebody told me it takes 11 weeks to get a provisional license from the DVLA at a minute. That is insane.
Apparently, I can't remember where I read, but apparently there's something like 50,000 HGV and Class 1 license applications backed up at DVLA. DVLA appropriately also went out on strike in June.
They went on strike?
You know, a lot of members of DVLA, it's quite heavily unionised due to kind of the COVID working practices they weren't particularly happy with. You know, I mean,
nobody's happy with them, but this is not the time to be going on strike. We're practically short of oxygen. We're short of everything.
So now, of course, kind of to combat the driver shortage, we've had these lovely letters going out to anyone who holds an HGV license.
Oh, they've gone begging, haven't they?
Yeah, I read only this morning that some primary teacher said, "Thanks very much for your letter. I really appreciate being called up to make use of my HGV license. I am, however, a primary school teacher and somewhat other engaged."
They've sent letters out to 1 million retired drivers, asking them to come back as well.
Yeah,
I've had a couple of customers last couple of weeks who were ex-truckers, and they said no amount of money is going to get them to go back. They said it's a lonely job. The pay's crap,
and it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
My brother, my father years ago was he was involved in manufacturing, and when they were short, my brother John had an HGV license. And he literally said to him, "Luke, son, I'm calling you up. Tough. You're going to have to drive one of the wagons for a few months." And he said the driving was fine because he enjoyed driving. The banter on the roads with other truckies when you stop is great. The banter at depots with other truckies is great. One of the biggest problems he found, and this has been reported again, is pulling into a depot to unload to find out that you've missed your slot by 5 minutes and you've got to wait 10 hours to get another slot to unload. This is what's happening quite a lot, the big supermarket chains and things where it obviously all has to be very organised. So we've got a shortage of truckies, but we've also got an awful lot of truckies who are driving to tacos and perhaps miss a slot, who've then got to park up for 10, 11 hours before they can actually unload what they're carrying.
And you can see, after years and years and years of doing that, you can see why they're just like, no, I'm done, I'm off, this is not good, this is not for me. And of course, the long haul guys who on the road 3 or 4 days a week don't see a single person, they don't see the family, they don't see friends, they sacrifice a lot for crap pay, and
they sleep in the cabs.
Yeah,
or they get a £20 a night allowance. I mean, I know, when we're taking deliveries in, first thing I do when the truck pulls up is the guy jumps out and I say to him, 1, do you want a brew, and 2, do you want to use the loo?
Same. Same. Do you want a cup of tea? The loo's there if you want it. I was speaking to a driver yesterday and was telling me all about this particular subject, and we're telling me, and you tell me if you think this is a lot. I don't. So the fuel HGV drivers are on, now bearing in mind the risks, you're driving, if you have a problem, you're potentially driving a highly explosive load. 37 grand a year.
Driving a bomb?
For driving a bomb.
But it's not just about the driving, though. It's going back to what I said. It's at either end. You're not just talking about guys that are trained to drive vehicles, big vehicles, dangerous vehicles. And I say, lads, that's wrong. There's some bloody damn good female truckies out there. But particularly the fuel, they're responsible for loading their vehicles before they leave the depot in the morning. They're also then responsible at the other end for unloading it.
37 grand for driving a bomb is not enough.
No. Not for what they do.
No.
Not when there's no uplifts, there's no additional, like you say, the guys that drive long haul. And where we are on our industrial estate, we see them all parked up at night.
It's not life. They don't get to go home. They don't get to go sleep in bed with their wife and go see the kids, or husband, and go see the kids. And it's no life. And you do that for 10, 15, 20 years. How much you miss out on? And he was saying to me, this driver was saying, supermarkets are signing on, or rather poaching other drivers. They're paying him 40 odd grand, up to 48 grand, and giving him 5 grand as a sign-on bonus. That's where we're at the minute. You've got other people just poaching drivers from here, there, and everywhere. We're not bringing new ones in. We're just poaching from other people.
But fairly similar to our industry, let's face it.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk about mirrors, that's what's going on in our industry.
They're just fitters and surveyors just bobbing it. We don't have any more of them. They're just going from here to there.
just going from one shortage to another.
Yeah. But then you've seen it in our industry, the same as HDHGV. You've seen it in our industry. Wages are going up. We've put our wages up twice in the last 18 months. Our office staff wages, all our wages have gone up at the business. Just because they're paying a tenner more here, or they're paying a bit more there, and it's all just doing that.
Just reflective. I mean, going back to supply chain bit, it's like mirroring with our industry. They've got the same problem. They're trying to bring HGV drivers in and take them straight to class 1 with very limited amount of training.
No, I can't do that.
I read a fantastic article where they sent some journalist, who the heaviest thing he'd probably ever moved was a pen. And they basically put him in a class 1 Arctic, gave him an hour's tuition with an instructor sitting beside him and said, crack on. And he said, he very, very honestly reported that he had never done anything that made him want to wipe his bottom so quickly. As reverse an Arctic. He was basically given an hour and then said...
It's an art form.
It is an art form. It's a skill. And not only that, we're bringing people in and trying to get them through the test too quickly, and we're putting them out on the roads.
Well, this is it. The government they're saying they're speeding up tests. I'm like, okay, that's all right, admirable effort, but in the same way we're trying to rush apprenticeships through to fill our gaps, are they going to be good enough? Fradders is saying in the comments, does putting wages up just force redundancies when the work dips, and that's the risk? We have now reached a certain level. Wages are a certain level, business is a certain level, profit is a certain level. And as I've just said, I do believe we are facing an imminent and probably quite sharp slowdown. What happens then? We've all raised wages, costs have gone up. We've got to sustain that now. That's the key, and Fradders is right. I mean, what happens, if you get 2 or 3 quiet months, that work we've all built up suddenly becomes...
But that's where managing your workforce and future-proofing your business comes in. And you talked about putting wages up. There's other ways to maintain loyalty in your workforce, and that again is something our industry not widely, and I think more so with bigger nationals, etc. I think the smaller SMEs, that's where I think we can kind of win through, because our idea of keeping our staff is very different to other people. Friday mornings at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you can be guaranteed my lads will be down the Riverside Cafe having, a breakfast. They plan the route during the day for the best stop-offs for lunch. That's something we do as a company.
That's nice.
Regularly, baits, etc. People come in the office, there's always snacks and all the rest of it in the office. And if the lads walk in late, they grab themselves 4 Mars bars and goes, cheers, mum, we'll see you later.
But that's nice. You create a nice atmosphere. Everyone gels. You can have some banter with each other, and it becomes a nice place to work. And then when times get tough, people go, do you know what? Fair enough. It's not great, but I'm loyal. I want to stick it out because I like where I am, and I don't just want to flit off somewhere else.
So yeah, you're right. Money is a huge, massive motivator, let's face it. But it is not the only motivator.
No, I agree.
For people to stay loyal.
I agree. We've had some comments come in. Leon Day, good evening, Leon. Evening all. I have an update from Karen on Facebook. No fuel next week. Oh, what's Karen heard? What's Karen heard? The world has gone mad, Leon. The fuel crisis. I mean, there wasn't one. There was one because we created it by bloody panicking when we didn't need to. So there wasn't one. Then there was one because of us not listening. Ben Voles. End users will eventually not pay the new prices or wait the new lead time. Now, we'll come on to prices in a minute because I've learned of some quite hefty price increases coming in the new year, which we'll come on to. Hannah, definitely, I'm amazed when I see... She's amazed when she sees lorry drivers manoeuvring. Yeah. Going in opposite directions and figuring out angles. And oh, man, it's
insane.
Callum, in response to Leon, my Karen told me that Boris is storing the fuel for his holiday to Mars next weekend. Oh, we can all wish. So yeah, so I don't think
that's to avoid the tsunami, Jason, when the poor volcano in Palma finally erupts and sends a tsunami big enough to wipe out London.
Do you know what? Yes, that's right. So totally going off topic.
Just
here.
One of those. Just go off in a different tangent.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, La Palma, one of the smaller Canary Islands, been erupting for a good couple of weeks now. The lava has now reached the sea. La Palma is getting bigger because the lava has reached the sea, sending out toxic gases and all that good stuff. La Palma is also an island where it is at risk. If a particularly large earthquake hits this volcano, half the island slips into the sea and causes an absolutely catastrophic tsunami which wipes out the American coast, a little bit of our south west. In fact, anything on the east coast of the western side of the world disappears. So, you know.
So when you compare that to when Mrs. Jones has to have gold handles and not chrome, it does kind of make you take a step back sometimes and put everything into perspective.
It's right though, isn't it? You could say to this, to Karen on Facebook who's complaining about because her windows are taking a little bit longer. Yeah, but someone in La Palma has just had a volcano wipe out their house. Deal with it. Dear Karen. Yes, you have to wait a couple more weeks for your windows because of supply chain issues. But there's been an earthquake and a volcano somewhere else, which, pales in comparison to your problem.
Yeah. Sorry, you're trumped somewhat, Karen.
Star Child, get ready for more price increase. Yes, price increases.
It just seems to be happening. Just continual. We've had notification after notification after notification of price increases. And the only way we're combating it is just trying to future-proof our costs out to our customers. And again, like I said to you earlier on, one of the favourite phrases in the office is, has anybody died when it goes wrong? The other phrase at the moment is, it is what it is.
There's very little anything can do.
Price, that's it. There's nothing I can do about it.
I did an interview with Rob McGlynn, who's the Koenig UK MD, and he's pretty much said the same thing as you. Is nobody's dying. We're not saving the planet. We're not curing cancer. This is just installation of windows and doors. We're not having a fundamental impact on the life of the planet, for example. It's just windows and doors. You know what I mean? So the people who are getting so irate and so angry and so frustrated, it's like, just take a step back. Look at the wider perspective. There's bigger shit happening somewhere else. If you have to wait a couple of weeks for your composite door, so what? So what? But
I don't know. I have read, obviously, again on the forums and social media, quite a lot of installers beginning to face customers wanting to cancel due to wait times. Touch wood, we haven't.
But where are they going to go?
Any of that at all?
Where are they going to go? Where it's any different?
It's going to be the same. It just means you're going to have to start the process all over again.
We had a customer today. He thought for some reason we were coming to fit his windows on Monday. We're actually fitting them on the 27th of October, so I've no idea. Anyway, that's a customer who doesn't listen. And then he started asking about his deposit. I'm thinking, where's this going? He says, what have you done with my deposit? And we're like, well, it's been banked. Your windows are ordered. You just have to wait for them. You could already see the angle he was going down. Was saying, I want my deposit back. I want to cancel. It's like, too late, pal. Can't be doing that now. But you can start to see the frustration start to come through in certain customers. But then again, that comes back to the point of be honest at the beginning.
Yeah.
Get it right at the beginning. Manage their expectation. I mean, I'm telling people, you're going to wait till end of January, early February, minimum. And I said to him, even then, there may be a last minute delay. Your glass might not come. So I have to delay it again.
Yeah, that's exactly the way we're doing it. To be honest, we're tapping on an extra few weeks so that we can actually, under deliver and over promise. So people are actually delighted when we phone up and tell them we're planning on coming and fitting your doors and windows a week early or 2 weeks early, or we can do it next week. But it is about managing the expectations from day one, and that's something that in the early days we couldn't do.
No.
And like you can hear some people's frustrations coming through. But as I'm saying to people, bear in mind as well, sorry to say this to you, but we're coming into the winter time. I haven't got a crystal ball when we're working so far ahead.
No.
If we get another beast from the east or horrendous weather,
yep.
You have just got to be patient, sit tight, and wait for that golden moment.
Well, look at weather. The weather has affected our industry this year, and not just. I mean, in other parts of the world. So, remember the beginning of the year when Texas had that big freeze in February? that knocked out one of the resin plants, which is they produce materials used in laminated glass products. So that affected the car
I'm feeling
industry.
the effects of that now.
Yes. So they were knocked out for a long period of time. Now that affected glass products in the automotive sector and our sector. I was told that glass plants in the big German floods a couple of months ago, remember those? They wiped out a glass plant. That's affecting us now. So there's a lot of stuff happening out of our... Suez! A ship gets stuck in a canal. The whole world.
You honestly, when you start to think about it and talk about it and you look back, you couldn't write it. You honestly could not write it in your worst nightmares. And then we've got, port congestion in China because of COVID spikes. I was having a look. You'll know these kind of stats. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jason. Am I right in saying in March 2020, the cost of a shipping container was $1.7 thousand US.
Yep, that's about right, yep.
In August this year, it was $11.7 thousand US.
That's a low end. So it depends on the size of the product. So if you're shipping something, go on.
Sorry, I'll just say, but that was on Shanghai to Rotterdam line. So it's not just about the size of the product; it's about the line as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So if you want to go to the UK, you have to go to Rotterdam first, or Europe first. Then the ship comes to the UK. And so you're right. Pre-pandemic, shipping costs $1,700 a container. But the cost depends on the item you're shipping. So if you're shipping small little items you can get lots of, the cost isn't too bad. If you're shipping composite door slabs, for example, your costs a lot higher. I mean, I've seen figures of $20,000 for a container. Okay? Now, there was a period in the summer, due to port congestion, where ships were coming to the UK. We had that much port congestion, they could not wait. They had to go to Europe, do the Europe stop first, when we should have been first, because they couldn't get to port, and then come back to the UK 2 weeks later. And then it's the same in America. They've got the same problems. You look at shipping costs to the US from Asia, and you've got major ports on their west coast, which is so San Fran, LA, all those. They've got huge port congestion on the west coast of America. They've got the same problems we have. And
yeah, so I'll just add there that particular poignant moment. So when your fabricator phones you up and says, "I'm really sorry, slab manufacturer says there's a two week delay on your comp door for Mrs. Smith down the road," it's probably because the boats had to go to Europe and come back.
Yeah, it's... I mean, obviously in the summer, Suez was a factor. There was nothing going in, nothing going out. But port congestion in other places, partly caused by Suez, was meaning ships were trying to dock here. They couldn't. They had to go somewhere else, then come back. Hence the delays. So we've got some more comments on YouTube. I've heard of people cancelling projects purely because of the increases in price. Had a build pricing scheduled 18 months ago, but with the price rises, they simply cannot afford today's prices. That's, inflation. Fradders, 2021 the year of home improvement. 2022 the year of getting away from your house. People will now start to cancel for long lead times and start looking to book holidays. Well, I hope they don't cancel to book a holiday. I can see people booking more holidays. I just hope it's not at the expense of us. Leon, trade to retail been a race to the bottom for years. Price increases need to happen due to low margin before increases from suppliers to trade. I agree with that. I just don't think all the price increases should have happened all at the same time. A nice, gradual, steady, not like that. That doesn't give us any room to plan. That gives us room to plan. Fradders, material cost increases don't change the race to the bottom on the profit margin. Trade to retail being a race to the bottom fee. Okay, our products trader too cheap, and I've been for 15 years. Learn, I agree. Our industry has been selling our goods way too cheap for far too long. I just think in an ideal world, the price increases could have been spaced out a little bit. For example, we're all, I don't know if anybody knows this, but we're facing 40% tariffs on steel soon. Extra on top of. So all the steel prices that have come in, you're looking at steel prices going up 40% in the next few months. Profile 18%, I got told today by somebody. That's all coming in the new year. So windows and doors are going to get really expensive really quickly in the next few months.
This is a point I'll say to you, Jason, and I'm probably going to give some information away here. Sean walked in the other week to the office and just took one look at me and said, "We're going to Australia." I said, "I beg your pardon." I said, "I know it's coming up for winter time, and no, you don't like the cold. It's all right. Don't worry about it. I'll get your electronic vest out and start warming it up for you." I didn't know this. I had no idea at all. But PVC double glazing in Australia is very young. It's only about 5 years old.
In Australia?
In Australia.
Yeah, it's not it's growing. I believe one of our major fabricators is a big exporter to Australia. But a bit like America's a bit more advanced. They call it vinyl. Australia is mainly timber and alley. The PVC is sort of coming into some kind of focus there.
And of course, because of the horrendous time with forest fires that Australia's had this year as well, they're also making huge moves away from timber. Yeah, that was his thought process. I think he was thinking Australia was about to come into its white gold era.
It might, but I tell you what, you've raised a good point. That is climate change making an effect. Australia, a country that's built with timber for forever, a traditionally hot country, but their forest fires are increasing. They're big, they're large, they last a long time, and they burn houses.
And they're looking at every single tiny option of where they can make changes to the fabric of the buildings.
Yes. So what you've got there is climate change. A change in their climate is directly affecting how we do what we do. M-Plus, yes, M-Plus export a lot to... That's the fabricator I'm on about. M-Plus export a lot to Australia. Callum's saying glass is going up. Yeah, it's safe to assume everything is going that way. An ex-customer of mine, this is from Callum, an ex-customer of mine has a PVC fabrication business over there in Australia. Moved from here and took the UK way of making windows over there. So yeah, they're probably going through their early white gold phase.
And lacking skills and knowledge, I suspect.
Good God. Poor them. Oh, what they've got coming. Oh no. Oh dear me.
Just wait for the Northumberland Glass.eu website to pop up shortly, Jason. It's right, I'll send Sean over. I'll stay in the UK, it's fine. I don't like big hairy spiders.
Yeah, but it's warm, nice and warm though.
Yeah, true, but I don't fancy shaking my trainers out every single morning just to check.
They have some whopping spiders. Spiders.
Seriously scary
Snakes
spiders.
in toilets. Muscly big-ass kangaroos that'll knock you out. Seen the videos, man. I've seen them on YouTube. Kangaroos are muscly as hell. They'll headbutt you. Honestly. Speaking of holidays, Frad has brought it up. Look, as much as I've enjoyed earning lots of money through this boom, I do want a holiday. I'm getting I don't know what you're like, Abby, but I am ready for something hot and far away.
I would say I'm the opposite, Jason. I think and this is where from an industry point of view, I'm in two minds as to what's going to happen. I think, yes, there's a sector of people in the UK who I just cannot wait, who are going to go regardless, who want the sunshine, want to get away. And then I think there's an awful lot of people in the UK who have fallen in love with the homes again.
Yes, I would agree with that. That's fair.
Yeah, and they've invested money. Perhaps even some of the older generation who are used to traveling further afield and taking different types of holiday. I nearly said vacation there. I'm already in Australia.
Yeah, I slip into vacation. I actually find vacation easier to say than holiday. But there you go.
But I think there's an element of people who are investing in the homes. So I agree with you. It's inevitable. It cannot stay operating at this level it's on. It just cannot. But I still think there's going to be a really, really healthy market that, provided you position yourself right, you can take advantage of. I think there's some people that just are not going to go back on holiday in a hurry.
No. The other thing we've got to remember as well is, even though the UK has, pretty largely downgraded its holiday restrictions, you can pretty much go anywhere that's not on a red list now. The amber list's gone. As long as you're double vax, you can go anywhere. But the thing we're forgetting is a lot of parts of the world don't want us in their country. So as far as us saying, yeah, we can go to wherever might not want us in.
On top of that, a lot of parts of the world haven't been as fortunate to have the vaccination program we've had.
You look at America's only just after more than 18 months. Beginning November, they're allowing foreigners back in. They've had one of the longest, strictest travel bans in the world. They're only just letting go. But I think you are right. I had a conversation with somebody today in Scotland, and their market's just as busy as it is here. But he was saying there is a slowdown coming, but where he was coming at was he's gonna split into two. You're going to have the haves and have-nots. So the have-nots have been supported quite well over the last 18 months. They've had quite a lot of extra cash in their pocket, and they've been able to spend on windows and doors, gardens, whatever. That cash is probably gone. The haves, or the group of people who have always had disposable income, will probably continue to spend, because they're the demographic where a crisis probably would never have affected them that badly anyway. So we've got to start marketing to the haves. If we want to keep that cash flow coming in, if we want to keep the business sustained at a certain level, we have to start looking at the demographic which has that disposable income. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be harder than it used to be. For the last 18 months, me and you have just been used to going out selling and not even trying. It's been that easy. It's not going to last forever.
That then I think is when the customers will become a lot more discerning about who they use, because people have been used to paying inflated prices. Do we think suddenly, it's going to be back to the race to the bottom? I don't think it is.
I hope not.
I hope not, because it just destroys the industry, it demeans the skill in the industry. Fenestration's always been the industry that people say to me, anybody can catapult a window in. I'm like, I beg your pardon. Do not come and tell my lads that.
You believe him with a silicone gun shoved up somewhere.
Yeah, where the sun don't shine. You'll be in the Arctic, not Australia. And it is a skill. There is a lot of finesse in it.
Of course there is.
One of our lads, as we call him, the machine. He's phenomenal. We struggle being very, very rural, and I mean very rural. And we struggled obviously to get good quality fitters. Hence, we move on to talking about apprentices. We've just recently taken on an apprentice. But this chap we've got at the moment, we call him the machine. He actually came from a joinery background. 16, 20 years joinery experience. And he's moved across to PVC, obviously adapted really, really well. But he's phenomenal. He's got skills, really, really talented. And I get really, really cross when people make references to window fitters, throwing them in or whatever. But that, to be honest, that's something else the industry needs to change.
I had a mechanic, so I picked my car up. I had an MOT and service today. And we were having a chat similar to this. He's a mechanic, and He's short staff and he's having to put prices up and everything else. And I was saying, yeah, we're having to do the same. It's like, oh, it's easy in your stuff. No, anybody can fit a window. And it's like, oh, man. I'm like, if I had more time, I mean, I would spend 20 minutes and just point out to you where you're wrong. I'm like, come on, man. I don't come in and say, yeah, anybody can be a mechanic. Anybody can throw a wrench in and just twist this and turn that and everything's fine. Don't insult me, for God's sake. But, I don't know. It's right, though. It's right. I mean, Leon's left a couple of comments. The thing is, Jason, if you quote a job now and get the order, let's say you're fitting this product in January next year, when do you order? You order to come in a few days before delivery. When you are working on low margins at the moment, you might have to add 2 price increases to fix your price and have delivered. However, retail will not do this due to cash flow. I see Leon's point. What we've been doing, I don't know if you've been doing this, we're adding a percentage on. So when we get our material costs, we are adding anywhere between, depending on what it is, 5 to 10% extra. So we get the price, which is accurate at the time of pricing, and then we stick 7, 8, 9, 10% on, depending on what it is. Because we know we're going to get these price increases. And we order straight away. So we get the order in, it gives the fabricator time to plan what stock they need, plan the deliveries, and we can lock in the price. So we protect ourselves that way, but we still add that buffer on. I don't know if you do, but we add a certain percentage on just to protect ourselves. Yeah,
we do as standard. Literally exactly like yourself, Jason. We take the raw material costs, and exactly the same as you, anywhere between 6 and 10%, depending on the product. And then it gives you that little bit of a cushion. We're also the same, and we're lucky we can do that, because I hear what he's saying about cash flow. But with production taking so long, we are getting the orders put in as soon as we can. We're lucky as well. They've got a reasonably decent sized warehouse that we can store X amount. But that's also helping us with customers and with preventing things like cancellations, because what I'm also communicating to customers is, if I get your order now and we get it put through and it's in the production queue, if I get your frames in and my lads are wearing the Superman capes and the weather's good to us, if I can claw back 2 or 3 installation dates, I can come and fit your goods.
Yeah.
If I haven't got them, I can't fit them.
No. And this is it. I mean, we're saying the same, all right, we're saying sort of late January, early February for fitting. I said, but if we get a gap, if we finish a job early, and we can come fit a bit early, we will.
Come fit them. And on top of that, you've got a customer who's there sitting there over the moon, who's then going to recommend you tenfold.
Leon, we order and ask for it delivered straight away. So Leon's just asked, you order, but when do you ask for it to be delivered? We ask for it to be delivered as soon as possible.
Yeah, we do.
Because a job might finish early, or we have to cancel for another reason. If we can bring jobs forward, then it's in stock and we can do it. Even if it's just a couple of composite doors or 4 windows, whatever, we've got it in stock. We can go out and do it if there's a delay.
Particularly more so at the moment, go back to supply chain issues, is, if we've got as many orders in production as possible and due for delivery, we know at the moment we're guaranteed, probably around 50% of jobs that we're expecting in that day are going to have something missing. So if we've got more jobs, we've got more completed jobs.
Yeah.
We may have stuff booked in or planned, even though we've not communicated to the customer we're going to fit it. If 4 of those orders that we'd hoped we could fit are short, we've got 4 more other orders there that we can fit.
Yeah. This is it. As Leon said in a comment just now, it's covering your backs. You've got to do what you can to protect yourself. And if that means bringing everything forward, fine. All right, you'll have to pay for it sooner, but so what? Hopefully you've built up a nice little cash buffer. You can afford it anyway. Last thing you want is your fitter stood around on a last minute delayed delivery doing nothing.
With nothing else to do.
Exactly.
Of course, at the moment, we are in a good position because there's massive pipeline out there. So if we're all doing it right and we're all continuously getting a pipeline coming through, we've got all those 25% deposits, which we hope we're all taking, protect ourselves.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. you know, that's your cash flow sitting there. In theory.
We've got about 4 months of work, but maybe 5 now. And I would say we've ordered everything. We haven't got it in stock yet, but we have ordered everything. We're not just sat on it waiting, because we know there could be delays, we know there could be missing items, it could take weeks and weeks and weeks to solve. So we've ordered everything. I'm not quite, and I assume to be delivered as soon as possible. It is causing us a slight problem, is because we don't have a warehouse. You probably have. We are quite full. There is not much room left at our place.
There's the other supply chain issue that we found difficult and have had to make a case-by-case decision on as we go. You know, is the phone call, this is missing from a particular job, can we deliver the rest? And that's something that I think, again, is about being loyal to your fabricator, is being able to say to them, on this occasion, no, I can't take those 40 frames for that job because it's a big job. I haven't got the room. I need it complete because as soon as it comes in, it's going back out to get fitted. And having that relationship with your fabricator by not jumping ship from one to another, you know, is then being able to say, well, in actual fact, I'll take that job, because even though the composite door's missing, I've agreed with my customer to fit the windows.
Yeah.
Send me the door when you can.
I mean, we are literally just taking everything. Although, I've got to be honest, about a month ago, we stopped deliveries for 2 weeks because we literally could not fit anything in the stores. We had to have a couple of weeks of fitting just to get stuff out before we could have another delivery, because we were rammed. All the frame slots were full, all the glass racks were full, all the spare space had gone. It was like, can't have another delivery. We have literally nowhere to put it. It's mad.
It's completely mad.
I've never. It sounds weird because it's not the natural thing to do in business, but I do want a bit of a slowdown. I don't mean a dramatic fall off a cliff slowdown. I mean just back to manageable levels, because and this introduces another point, is I am burnt out. I mean, I am not afraid to say I am knackered. Getting out of bed in the morning is hard bloody work. You finish your day knackered. Your eyes are sore because you're looking at screens and paperwork and sorting shit out you don't want to do every single day. We're not meant for this. I mean, I don't know what you feel like, Abby, but everyone I speak to at the minute is miserable as hell.
Yeah, I mean, we've had days. Obviously, we're kind of a partnership team, and there was one morning about 6 or 8 weeks ago when Sean literally sat at the breakfast bar with his head in his hands and just looked at me and said, "I can't go work today.
Oh.
I just can't do it." And I said to you, before we came live, you end up finding you feel like a hamster on a treadwheel. You're just going, eat, sleep, repeat, eat, sleep, repeat,
yeah.
eat, sleep, constant.
That's why I made those T-shirts on my merch store. Eat, sleep, glaze, repeat. It's true.
I'm quite new to the industry. I've only been in the industry, coming up 7 years. In March, we've been trading. And this year is the first time I've ever experienced anybody in the office, the lads, whatever, saying to me, giving me a customer's name and me not being able to tell them exactly what the job is.
Yeah.
Just because you've been on that constant cycle. Like there's been days in the office like we process and so on and so forth in house. It's just been days where I've thought, this is endless. I thought I was never going to get to the end of processing Windows, where I was never going to get to the end of sending out contracts, waiting for Adobe signatures to come back. It felt like all I was doing. There was, just no time to actually run a business.
It's. I said this months ago, and it still applies now. The novelty of being this busy, and I know the argument about make hay while the sun shines, and look at other sectors who are doing worse than you. And I say, yeah, I get that, and it's nice. We've all made good money. The stress has not been worth it. It's not. The number of people that I have met, constantly talked to, 2 or 3 years ago, we weren't like this. It was, you know, we were managing things. It were happy. You could go out and do stuff. You could meet people. You could enjoy your job a bit, at least. And now, it's just the novelty of the grinding nature of how relentless. And you said it earlier. It's a tsunami wave of business. That novelty is long gone. And it takes a human toll. And this is one thing about business. I mean any business, not just our business. Any business. And I noticed this a lot in sort of the startup world. I follow a lot of YouTubers who sort of start up businesses and stuff. And a lot of them end up having to take time off because they're burnt out. They're hell for leather 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And they think they can keep going. And then boom, hit a wall, knackered. And then they're wiped out for weeks, months at a time. And that's where we're at now. You're the same, I'm the same, and probably people watching live and in the days to come afterwards will be the same. People are burned out, and this is where we have to take serious considerations for mental health, because this is the point where people start to struggle. And we have to look out for each other and support each other and be kind where we can and have more Mars bars at Abigail's place and all that good stuff. It's got to look after this.
It's like I said to you, it's incredibly frustrating and incredibly cross-making. You know, when you're one window short of an entire job because certain friction stays out of stock. But you know, phoning up your fabricator and shouting and swearing at the poor girl at the end of the phone who's looking at dates, shaking her head, going, I don't know when it's going to come. It's not going to resolve the issue. It's not going to sort the issue out.
No.
You know, and the whole, like that we talked about, you know, the whole hashtag be kind bit during the first lockdown, during the early days of the pandemic, the country restored my faith in humanity. And gradually, as we've moved away from that and we've come out of that, it's just deteriorated again. We've lost it.
That spirit's gone.
Yeah.
There was that. I mean, I had the same conversation. I said same as you. I said, you know what? I said, we can do it. We can pull together when we really have to, when we really can. We can do it. And then gradually, as time went on, and people got frustrated and they got disinterested with looking after each other and all that stuff, and you reverted to type. You think, yeah, didn't last long, did it? But this is a serious point. And I don't want to be overly negative about it, because it's not negative. It's not negative to tackle stuff like this head on. It's just pragmatic. People are burnt out, and we're not, as human beings, we're not meant to deal with this amount of stress and pressure on such a prolonged period of time. So I'm giving everyone permission, Abby. Everyone on the 1st of December can go home for Christmas. You can all have another 3 weeks off.
Sorry, I'm just gonna give myself a top up there. I'm gonna be kind to myself, Jason.
Absolutely, I'm gonna be kind to myself as well. It's fine. It's like a public Alcoholics Anonymous, this. It's all good. It's fine.
Happy days.
Do you know what? I enjoy doing these. I mean, and I know Lee does as well. We started this in March of last year. And I didn't like doing video work. Obviously, all my writing's done behind it. Nobody sees what I write. Nobody sees what I type. And Lee's like, oh, we should do a live stream. We should do a podcast. I'm like, really? But the more we've done, the more I've done it, I actually look forward to doing these kinds of things, because it's these chats, it's this. I find it a cathartic process. Yes, it gives me an excuse to have a beer, which is never a bad thing. But
I was going to say, do you need one?
Well, I've got one. I also have another one as well, just in case. I actually quite enjoy doing them, because you get to offload your opinions on stuff. You can have a discussion about other like-minded people about stuff. You've got people in the comments leaving stuff right now. It's good. It's our own little I don't know, like little virtual community. Isn't it?
I'm going to deviate, Jason, but it's probably going to raise a few more topics of conversation.
Go on.
Did I see a comment from you earlier on Twitter this week? Something about you're looking forward to getting your first electric car.
Yes. Wouldn't have to queue up for fuel, would I? Wait, well, I say I'm looking forward.
Might cost you a lot to fill, though, with any rising energy prices.
If I get it. So I bought the car in July, knowing that I knew I wouldn't just walk out with a car. And they said, we're probably going to get it December, January. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. My mate is a couple of months ahead of me, so he bought his same car. So it's an Audi Q4 e-tron, fully electric. He's just had a delay email saying he's going to be pushed back at least a month. There's no way I'm getting my car when they said I'm going to get it.
When are you due to get it?
January. I'm not getting it in January. Telling you now, I'm not getting it in January. Probably late February, maybe. But see, they're short of glass. They don't have glass. Automotive glass shortage. Computer chips shortage.
Have a new car, Jason. You just can't have it with a windscreen.
Fresh air, ventilation. It's good for COVID. Just, you know. But no, yes, I am getting my electric car. Well, at some point, I will be getting an electric car. I have bought one. I just need to take delivery of it at some point.
Have you? Because I'll be honest, I'm a bit of a petrol head. And as much as, we recycle, I've obviously got a 12-year-old daughter who's really heavily into, shampoo and conditioner, soaps in plastic, not plastic, God, I said the wrong word then, cardboard boxes, every single little way we can and mainly kind of pushed by daughter, but kind of, embracing it and going for it. But the one thing I cannot bring myself to do is do what you've done.
Buy an electric car?
Just can't do it.
Well, if you wait 9 years, it's going to be forced on you, whether you like it or not.
To be honest, I'm obviously having a midlife crisis in that I'm going to be dragged into this electric car malarkey, kicking and screaming. I do have a penchant for not particularly environmentally friendly cars. So I kind of wanted to pick your brains about
Go on.
What the attraction was about your electric car.
I'm saving money long term. I pay no road tax. I pay no fuel. The car isn't cheap. I don't mind saying so. The spec I bought at about 50 grand.
Benefit in kind low as well for business.
Correct. Yep. So you've got that. So I'm actually keeping. So I've got a Q3 at the moment, diesel. I'm keeping that. Soph's actually going to take that. So we're going to part X her current car. She's getting the Q3. Because she's always loved that car anyway. So she's getting that car, and then I'm getting the electric. If you add up what you're not paying in car tax, your benefit in kind, and your fuel, actually, it's not that much more expensive. Then there is the environmental factor. For me, I didn't want to buy another traditionally fueled car. I'm lucky enough, I live in a new house, so I've got an electric car charging point.
That was going to be my next question.
And Audi's actually fitting, they call it an autopod. So So I'm going to have two charging ports. So when Soph gets an electric car, we'll be fine. We were literally in a position where we could just get electric cars. And I appreciate not everyone is in that position. We're just lucky enough to be in a new house with car charging points, and we can afford it. But the environmental thing for me as well.
Apart from obviously when it comes to the end of its life and you've got to dispose of the battery.
See, I never buy my cars. So they're always on PCPs because I always get bored of a car after 2 or 3 years.
You
So
haven't got to worry about disposing of the battery.
No, so I can just hand it back or get a different
Let
one.
somebody else worry about that.
This is the one thing that concerns me though, is the infrastructure. Yeah. So at the minute, I'd still say early cars are still in an early adoption phase. Over the next few years, that's going to ramp up massively. What concerns me is the disposal of the batteries, because that's not an easy thing to do. It's also the creation of the batteries. So the lithium, the raw materials needed to create these batteries, unfortunately, a lot of it is from African mines done by children. The conditions are horrific. That's the only thing that bugs me, is the way in which the raw materials for that stuff is sourced. But we can't ignore what is happening. And in the end, I mean, Spencer's 2 years old. I mean, we were sort of talking about this. By the time he gets to driving age, he ain't going to know what a petrol car is, or a diesel car is, or a manual car is. It's going to be electric, and it's going to be automatic. It's as simple as that. I mean, for people who've driven...
And it's probably going to be one of those situations where you get in and you don't even have to drive.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, there'll be some way they're automatic, but you drive, and there'll be a mix of self-driving cars probably by his age when he gets to 18 anyway. So in 16 years' time. It's the environmental thing for me. Because I was going to buy a Q5. So I've got the Q3. I was going to go up and buy a Q5, which would have been hilarious because I'm a short ass. So buy an even bigger car, that makes sense. And then, but I was looking at price thinking, that's 50 grand and all. So I rang them back up and said, just price me up that e-tron again. And it came back at roughly the same cost. I'm sat there thinking, right, I'm going to spend all this money. But in a way, if I buy the other car, I'm not, because, all right, I'm going to pay more for the car, but I'm not going to pay for fuel. I'm not going to pay for tax. I'm going to get my benefit in kind on the business as well. It's not, in the end, that negates a lot of the cost rise for me. So I might as well buy an electric one anyway.
You're just so sensible.
Yeah, listen, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I like fast. I like the smell of fuel. I like good old-fashioned cars. I mean, for God's sake, we used to hold our winners events before we had for NFAs, before I had them at Donny Racecourse. We used to have them at Alton Park.
Happy days.
We used to take the winners around. They were driving rally cars, 4x4s, all. It was awesome.
See, this is why I'm going to be dragged kicking and screaming into driving an electric car. As I said to you, I'm a bit of a petrol head. So I have two cars basically, and they are just, I hate to admit it, but neither of them are particularly environmentally friendly.
What have you got? Do you mind me asking? Or
I've got a Jag F-Type.
Okay.
It's a V6 3-litre.
Oh, I like an F. Yeah,
I love
the
it.
F-Types,
It's just awesome. And then I have a little Renault Clio.
Okay.
Which is my lovely little mummy runaround. The only difference is that it's a Renault Sport 220 and I had it remapped. So it now pulls...
So it rips your face off when you pull the foot down. You see, you could...
So it pulls 250 brake horse in a
Bloody
Renault
hell.
Clio. It's gorgeous. And it's my little pet to take on the track, because when we eventually get any time off, that's my kind of switch off and de-stress.
What if you see, if I had those two cars, I'd be tempted to keep the Jag, because it's an F-Type Jag. Renault do some pretty nifty electric cars. What if you eased yourself in and got like a smaller electric, kept the Jag, yeah, but then eased yourself in with a like a Renault Zoe or something?
It is literally a midlife crisis. I mean, if you've ever seen the looks I get when I drive into the supermarket, I mean, you can tell I haven't been to the hairdresser for God knows how long. This kind of middle-aged woman, one day gets out of a Jag and the next day gets out of this Renault Clio that really should be driven by a boy racer if they could ever afford the insurance in it. Yeah, I mean, it burbles and gurgles like nothing you've ever heard. You know, as I say, this middle-aged woman gets out of it, and people that get kind of look and go, "It's a Renault Clio," and it's like, I'm glad you could actually read what it is, bearing in mind it probably left you standing somewhere. I mean, it's just obscene. It's ridiculous. I would actually be more tempted, honestly, to sell the Jag, bearing in mind, come 2025, Jag are not going to produce anything other than electric.
Well, yeah. So, dragging yourself to electric cars. Most car manufacturers on planet Earth have said by 2025, 2030, we're not making no petrol diesel cars anyway, so you're going to have to buy an electric car. It's tough shit, you're going to have to buy one.
Honestly, it's like I get in my little Clio, which, as I say, is meant to be my kind of mummy run around, you know, go to the supermarket, do the school run sort of thing. But you just get in it and it just goes, I want to go.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, I don't think you'd be overly disappointed. So the electric car, I mean, they're instantly fast.
They're ridiculously fast.
That's the one thing with electric, and this is something I suppose we'll all have to change our driving habits, because electric power's instant. It's not like you ain't got no turbo lag. You know,
it's a bit. I must admit, it's a little bit of my worry in that we suddenly, you know, start putting relatively new drivers in a
super
car
fast
that
cars.
does 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds, which I think what one of the latest Teslas is.
So there's a Tesla Model X.
Is it the X? Yes.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay, so Ben Dawes is watching on. Shit, that was there. Yeah. God, he's looking at a Model X now. It's the coupe. It's the 2-seater coupe.
Is it the X or is it the S?
Oh, now then, I'd have to Google it.
I think there's one of the S's that I think they're possibly
They've
trying
just brought out the
to
Model S
break
Plaid.
the 2-second barrier.
Yeah. So they brought out the saloon car, the Plaid version. That's a family car that does 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds. But they're bringing out next year, I believe, unless somebody tells me otherwise, a coupe sports car version that does 0 to 60 1.5 seconds. I've seen videos.
It's obscene.
Of it. But it's electric. It's like that.
I know, but then we have the problem in that, particularly with electric cars. I mean, I know you look at the Teslas, they've got phenomenal anti-roll capabilities. You know, we put some people in who perhaps don't have as much experience driving quick cars. I don't believe that anti-roll is going to save them.
Do you not think that's where self-driving comes in to protect people, though?
That's where it's all going to come.
Once the technology is good enough, it's not good enough yet. But when self-driving comes in and it's good enough, you won't need to drive it. Therefore, it will just obey the rules of the road and the speed limits, and you won't get some boy racer doing 150 miles an hour down an A road.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. So just forgive me if for the next kind of year, 18 months, I kind of just enjoy my final years driving something that actually makes a noise, Jason.
He don't make no noise. My mum's got an electric. So my dad and my mum have got hybrids. So they haven't gone fully electric yet. But they've got Toyota hybrids. But they do most of the short driving on the electric part. You can't hear a thing. It's weird. It's dangerous to some degree. You step out on the road and you don't hear a car coming.
No, I mean, I have actually sat in an electric car. I think I sat in a Toyota, and it really threw me. I found it really, really, I was really uncertain, because I just couldn't hear anything. I couldn't, and you know, I'm a bit older than you, but you know, I'm used to kind of listening to a car engine when I'm driving it to know where I'm up to and what's going on, and gear changing, even, you know, with flappy pedals and stuff. And there's going to be none of that. It's like, you know, my daughter's 12, when she comes to learn to drive.
Oh, she won't know. She wouldn't. Like I say, Spencer's 2. When Temsy turns to 17, he's learning to drive. It will be an electric car. It will be automatic, and probably half the cars on the road at that point will be self-driving anyway.
I mean, she's learning a car she takes after her mother a bit, obviously. She's doing kind of like karting lessons and stuff.
Are you taking her out as well?
She goes out with me, but then
What car do you take?
well, she likes the Jag.
She don't want to go in the super fast Renault.
No, she likes the Jag. But then she's quite partial to the Clio. But then obviously I have to be a little bit careful.
Yeah.
Obviously I obey the speed limits.
Listen, there's no law saying how fast you can get to 70. So, see, next step, electric vans. Are we all going to be delivering windows in electric vans? They're bloody expensive. Have you seen them?
Oh, and have they got the pulling power?
Can you imagine a 7.5 tonner with 150 frames on?
Oh, not to mention lots of laminate glass.
Charging it in.
I think we should have a vote because I don't know. I can't see. I don't know how many people are watching tonight, Jason, or whatever. I think we should have a vote and say should we be a little bit selfish and spend the next year or so just enjoying, or should we all move over to electric cars now?
See, timing got me because my car was up for renewal anyway, so we're too far along for me to get another diesel car, and I thought, oh well, electric cars are now affordable. Well, for me they're affordable, so I should probably get one. If it'd been a couple of years ago, I'd probably got another diesel car. See, I like my Audis like that. I do a lot of driving. They're reliable. They're built well. They're built so well. They just do the job. Although I do like the F-Type Jags as well. Jags do plenty of good electric cars, though, don't they? Don't they do an electric F-Type?
There's E-Max they've just brought out, which is phenomenal, incredible. I'm just at that stage. I need to get it out of my system. Exactly what you said. You know, the smell, the noise, the grunt, the burbles, the pops.
You see, I'm not even gonna have a service. So when I get these, there's nothing to service.
There's no service.
That's what I've been told by Audi. There's not. I think you can go in and have like a checkup and stuff, but there's not a traditional service because there's not your working parts in an engine.
I suppose.
What's there to service? A battery and some electronics. That's it. That is literally it. All right, you've got moving parts, but they're not going to come under the same wear and tear as a diesel or a petrol engine will. So, no car tax, no fuel, no service.
Are there any really good electric vans on the market? I know they're beginning to appear.
I've seen some. Merck's got some. Ford have got some, but the price, you can't afford them at the minute. It's insane. I'm going to do a piece probably early next year comparing all the electric vans, but until... See, I think electric vans are a few years behind where electric cars were. In a few years' time, they may become slightly more affordable. But not right now. You can't imagine, a fabricator just swapping out a fleet of vans for 12 electric ones. A, you can't buy them anyway, because there's none to be bought. Yeah. Because everyone's short of fresh air at the minute. But the cost... You're looking at 6 figures for some of the big ones. You can't do that. You can't have a fleet of that. Then you're charging points. If you're a fabricator and you've got a fleet of vans, you have to put charging points in. And I tell you now, there's a very tiny percentage of fabricators have charging points. I know we don't have any at our place.
Well, it's not just that, but I mean, I know there's been huge moves in the last 2 or 3 years to really improve some of the ranges. But until, like you say, the cost has got to come down, the range has got to improve before it's even anything that can be considered.
Well, that's why I've waited this long. So, A, the cost, but B, the range. So, the model I've bought, I think, has a range of 220 miles. I know that's not a great deal, but for the driving I do, that's fine. Plus, we're still keeping my Q3, so if we have to do, if we drive up to Scotland or Wales or Devon, we'll take that car. But for the driving I do, that's fine. There was other ranges, so there was a level up on mine, but I think the battery's like £5,000 more. If I wanted this bigger range, it gives me like 100 more miles. But the like £5,000 or £6,000 more for this battery. The batteries are really expensive. That's what pushes the cost up. So there are like 4 levels of this e-tron. And the levels, they're just horrifically expensive for the range. And this comes back to the batteries. Until we sort out good batteries that don't have child slave labour and last a long time, this is what's going to keep the cost up.
Yeah, and it's just unviable. It's unviable for people to purchase.
Well, it is. Give it 2 or 3 years, the price will keep coming down, and then I think you'll start to open up more markets. Kevin Ahern has been on a works do.
Woohoo!
So he runs an installations business called Westry Windows. He texted me earlier saying he's off on a night's do. He's coherent, so he can't have had that much.
I can't have been that good a night then.
But he's a solid drinker, is Kev, so he might be a season pro. Callum, I'd like an electric car or at least a hybrid. Hopefully get to choose one soon after passing my probation. Kev, I'd love to know your comments on an electric car. I like Kev. He's old school, is Kev, but I like Kev. But no, electric vans, I think there will come a time where we'll move to electric vans, but not right now.
No, it's going to be a very, very slow changeover.
What about HGVs? How big a battery are you going to need to lug tons and tons and tons up a motorway?
Going to be more battery than goods carrying room.
Yeah. I think Tesla are building them though, aren't they? Tesla and oh god, what's the other company? Nikola. They're building these electric HGVs. I'm just thinking, what the hell are they going to cost?
But it's going back to what you were talking about earlier about the infrastructure. We don't have the infrastructure. I mean, we're already overcrowded for housing and got housing issues. How on earth are we going to expect every house in the UK to have its charging port?
Well, I'm just thinking. I mean, this is Wakefield. I mean, there's tons of old terraced houses with no parking. Where are you putting a charging point? So you have to put them at work. So if you can't have them at home, you'll have to have them at work. Who pays for it at work? You've already got companies charging employees for using the car chargers at work. Is that fair? There's a whole moral debate around that.
Mm.
But is every workplace going to have to get a set of chargers and plug in if you can't have them at home? I think what's going to happen, I think what you'll probably find is 2030 is the main deadline. So I think what you'll probably find is in 4 years' time, 2025, I think what will probably end up happening is some kind of scrappage scheme. Because you've got to remember, once you get past 2030 and they ban sales of new diesel and petrol cars, you have a lot of cars on the road which automatically become worthless. Because everyone's going to be buying electric. No one's selling or making fueled cars anymore. So all the existing cars on the road are going to become pointless because no one's going to want to buy them. So I think what you'll end up is with a scrappage scheme where the government will say, right, here's X amount of money, probably a few £1,000, towards the cost. Go buy an electric car and we'll give you this amount of money. And then they'll probably have to incentivise workplaces, say, right, well, here's some grants, here's some grant money or some loans. Get some charging points put in at your workplace.
Is that when they've finished rolling out retrofitting all the housing stock in the UK?
That's another issue. Yes. How long have we got for that one?
I know. We'll still be sitting here covered in cobwebs if we start debating that one.
We'll be here till Sunday night. It's I think that's what will happen though. I think they'll have to, because at the minute, these next few years, people are going to buy electric cars who can afford them. But it's going to get to a crunch point where it's going to have to be forced on you, where you're going to have to get an electric car. So you'll get some kind of scrappage scheme. The government will say, here's £5-6 grand, go buy a car, we'll give you the money. And we'll take these cars in, we'll scrap them and do whatever with them. But it's big changes. Next few years are going to be. Next few years, the pace of change is going to be mad.
I'll have to trade my poor Jag into a museum.
Oh, how old is it?
What is it? It's 2 years old. Oh, it's one of the last. This year they've stopped making the 3-litre V6. They're either making the 2-litre or they're making the monster V5 V8, which is just 5-litre V8, which is just an absolute monster. It's obscene. So there's not as many of these going to be around.
The other thing,
I mean, it's in mint condition. Obviously, it has a careful lady owner.
So if anybody wants to buy a Jag in a couple of years' time,
believe that if you will.
It's the other thing as well. We were talking about this in the office today. Is the car tax? So get to 2030. Can you imagine what the car tax is going to be on fueled cars? Because the government's not going to want you to drive these fueled cars. They're going to want you to drive electric. So the car tax on diesel and petrol cars gone 2030 is going to be nuts. It's going to be thousands of pounds.
Yep, be obscene. Be absolutely ridiculous.
They'll price you out of it anyway. Whatever happens, you will be made to buy an electric car. Whether through your own decision, through legislation, through workplace, you will be driving an electric car.
But I think it's something we were talking about, I think, before we became live, that kind of mirrors across the industry as well, is about streamlining choice.
Yeah.
Streamlining product ranges. And we were talking about this before we came in our industry. The price increases, supply chain problems, etc., etc. That I think naturally we're going to see streamlining of product ranges. And that's what's going to happen. But you can already see that happening, because I obviously look at cars or look at electric cars, whatever. And there's going to be less about what a car looks like and more about what it does.
Yeah.
And as such, there's not going to be the need for such wide ranges.
I agree.
There's going to be small nip around, the little family car, something a bit bigger if you've got a dog and 4 kids. And there's going to be nothing particularly distinguishable about electric cars other than which one gives you the biggest range and lasts longest.
I've got to say, I've not been a massive fan of the design of electric cars up to now. I mean, some of them are awful. I mean, really, really poor. The few I do like, I mean, if you Google it, the Q4 e-tron looks like a traditional SUV. Some of the early electric cars are just terrible. I do like the BMW i8. That is a cool car. I do like that. But then
I could be persuaded by something like that.
You could? Yeah.
But see, that's the thing for me, is it's the joy is not just in how it performs. The joy is in what it looks like. But it is something that I think we're just going to have to face. And it is about, like, streamlining the offerings and that's just, I think that's just what's going to happen.
Well, it's becoming more, I mean, look, let's be honest. I think supply chain issues that we've got now in our sector is affecting every sector, yeah? These are not going away. I think these problems have been building in the background, and then it's required an event like a pandemic to sort of, like the touch paper, yeah, it's exposed it all for what it is. And I think what we're experiencing now has been coming anyway. I would agree. It's just needed something to set it off, yeah? And that is going to lead to what you've just said there about streamlining stuff. I don't think we're going to be able to offer all things to all people in the future, whether it's windows, whether it's cars, whether it's food, whether it's houses. So companies are going to make the commercial decision to go, right, we can't do everything anymore because of this problem and that problem, so we're just going to do X, Y, and Z. And that's it. And we're going to get it in cars. I think we'll get it in windows. I think some companies perhaps not right now, but in the future will go, right, we're not going to do that anymore because we don't do a lot of that anyway, so we'll cut that off, and that can go. That doesn't make much profit, and we'll just focus on this, and that's all we'll do.
Particularly with all the problems we've had, though, Jason, would you not actually be happier to see less choice for our consumers, less choice for us as installers, but what we do have a choice of, better quality?
Yeah.
Sometimes is more to have it, but to have it right and have it right first time.
I think quality over quantity in terms of choice. I think, see, when I first joined the industry, I joined when I was 17. I'm 32 now, so that's 15 years ago. The choice then was hugely limited. You had not even close to what we have now. I do think we've gone the other way. So we've gone beyond the midpoint and we've gone to too much. I think we need to bring it back a little bit in terms of choice. Not do quite as much. But then again, I don't think we'd lose out anyway. I think if you focus on the popular stuff, on the high volume stuff, and made that better. Composite doors, for example. I know they're not perfect, but we sell a lot of them. Stick to doing that. PVC engineered doors, they're becoming quite popular. Stick to that. Flush windows, growth markets, stick to doing that. Your super niche stuff that you might sell 1 or 2% of, probably not worth it anymore. Get rid of it.
I would agree. And I think, again, like we talked about with cars, which is why I raised it, if by making it simpler we can do it better, and although I'm dragging my heels and I made a bit of a joke about it, but going forward we can tackle more the environmental issue by making the product ranges smaller, but by offering a better option, and by selling differently to customers. You can have this, or you can have this, or you can have this. This is the most environmentally friendly option, etc., etc., etc. Exactly the same way that electric cars are going.
Mm. You see, the other thing I'd do is I'd switch all PVC to fully recycled. If I were a systems company now, I'd be going to fully recycled as soon as possible. Because you've got to imagine the resin problems we've had this year. If we had access to all to all the post-consumer frames, we could. I don't think the supply problem on the resin side would be anywhere near as bad. Same on the glass side. I think if we recycled more, it wouldn't be a problem. But because we still rely on a high percentage of virgin materials, which are in short supply, we've landed ourselves in this problem. I would be looking at fully recycled as soon as possible, because it's circular. We know PVC lasts at hundreds of years when it's recycled, so we don't have to worry about the quality. Same with glass. Glass recycles very well. Aluminium recycles very well. All recycles well. Switch to recycled as soon as possible. Stop the reliance on virgin materials, which are becoming bottlenecked in supply chain problems, and look after you, protect your supply chain. I think if we used a lot more recycled stuff now, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in now.
I think you're right, and I think as a nation in the UK, that's something we could look at, that we need to look at, and I think we need to go back to being more self-sufficient going forward. It goes back to the skills issue. The skill shortages.
Exactly.
It's one big vicious circle.
It is.
And it's a case of chicken and egg situation. And where do you begin first?
Well, if we're going to look at trades and skills and labour and youth, what we're getting now is the shortages that are from my generation. So, when I was at school, 16, 17, we're at sixth form, we're told higher education, that's the key to everything, blah, 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 that's the golden world, da, da, da. We were never given a choice. We just got told, uni, your world lies at uni. I'm sat there thinking, all right. So I'm doing 2 years of A-levels, and I'm doing my first year of A-level. I'm sat thinking I am bored out of my brain here. They're not teaching me anything new. I'm not engaged with this. Most of it's bullshit I don't need. I've got the grades. I've got the grades to go to uni. So I did my first years of exams and they were fine. Could have walked in anywhere. We had the family business. And I thought, do you know what? I don't want any more of this. I'm bored. This is not for me. I don't want any part of it. So I went to my teacher and said, look, when this year's done, I'm done. I'm going. I'm going to work. And they could not believe the decision I made. They're like, what are you doing? You should be doing this. You got the grades, uni. I said, no, man, I don't want any part of that. I want to go work. I want to earn some money. I can drive now, so I can go where I want. Best thing I ever did. They laughed at me, and they neglected. So the remainder of that year, the teachers completely ignored my choice. It was like I wasn't in the room. I might as well not even turned up. But we were never given an alternative option, and it's still the same now. Colleges,
It's the same now.
Sixth form centres, uni, got to go to uni, degree. And then we get to the point where we're at now, where we need 300,000 homes built a year. And then I read a report saying we're short of 217,000 construction workers. I wonder why. Because we've told a generation to go to university, half of which should never have gone in the first place, half of which should have been given an alternative option of learning a trade, learning a manual skill. But oh no.
Yeah.
Get
agree
a degree.
more. I don't even think it's just your generation, Jason. I think it goes further back than that.
Probably. Yeah.
It does go beyond that. I mean, if you look at the curriculum in mainstream schools now, there's loads of kids who don't even pick up a hammer. There's no wood people. A lot of schools don't even do woodwork.
I don't get that, but I tell you what, I'm in a better position now, and if anybody stumbles across this podcast and wonders whether fenestration is a good career, it is, and I'll tell you why. And I'm not ashamed to say it. We earn good money in this industry. The pay is good. It was a good decision to come and work. I've got a nice house. I've got a good car. We've got a good family, and we're comfortable. I've seen my people my age from my school go do a degree, get a job in completely the opposite of what they studied for, and have got tens of thousands of pounds of a debt. Who's in the right? Yeah,
I would totally agree. It's hard graft sometimes in the winter when you're out on the tools in the bad weather, and you've got to be aware that you need to be made of a certain type of character. But yeah, in the summer, my lads and Sean, because Sean goes out on the tools as well when needs be, even though he's clocking on a bit, he won't mind me saying that.
Is he there?
No, I think he's gone to bed. He's normally in bed asleep by 8:30, because he's usually in the office by 6 most mornings. Bless him. Even he says in the summer, he cannot beat it. There's nothing better, and we've got, like you say, we've got young people being told that they've got to go to university, they've got to go to college, they've got to do this, and it's not their skill set. And we're basically, and it's not that we're doing them any good. We're actually doing them a disservice. We're failing them because we're not looking at the talents, looking at the skills, and saying, okay, you're never going to be, a physicist. That's quite obvious. That's not being disrespectful.
No, it's obvious. There's
It's obvious. You're not going to be particularly an academic. We'll get you through your English, get you through your maths, and you know what? We'll find you a trade.
You're right. It's not being negative to that person. I mean, it was clear to me. I was never going to be a sports person. I was never going to be that good at rugby, football, but I'm good at business. I'm good at the marketing side of stuff. I mean, I know that's not a trade, but you get my point. Is kids need to be shown the path that's best for them. Yeah, and I mean, so for my wife, until she had kids, was a teacher. And she'd come back to me, and she sees it from my point of view. She says, the schools, she has no power, she can't change this, but she said they were all teaching kids uni. And she says, she knows full well half the kids in her classes were not meant for that at all. And she said, I could spot who'd be a good welder, who'd be a good engineer, who'd be a good window fitter, whatever. I could spot them, I couldn't do anything about it because we didn't have an alternative course to give them. They were just told, do business, do maths, do science, do English.
It seems a bit backward, but to me, it almost feels like we should go back to the, it seems silly, but the old 11 plus situation. You know, whereas you passed your 11 plus, you went to grammar.
Mm.
You didn't, you went to tech. But at the end of the day, there was, you know, two sets of young people coming out of two different angles. They all had skills, they all had qualifications, they all had something valuable.
And they followed the path that was right for them.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about doing them a disservice. In actual fact, it's totally the opposite.
Yeah. It's giving them the best chance they've got in life.
Yeah.
For example, all right, I'm the flip side of that. I had good grades, but I enjoyed sport, but I wasn't particularly amazing at sport. It's like they say, no, you must do rugby. I'm not good at rugby. I'm short as hell. I'm not particularly well built. My hand-eye coordination's not bad, and I'm pretty quick, but that's it. But I've been battered to hell at rugby. That's no good for me. You know what I mean? I'd have been mangled like hell. Me twisted and me bones everywhere. I was better at business. I was better at marketing. So, all right, I chose to do that myself, but you get my point. I was better at that, so I did that, and it's paid off.
This is a vital opportunity that goes on about the apprenticeships. I'm aware it's getting late, mind you, as well. I'm rambling on. But it goes on to the whole apprenticeship bit. In that, what we're beginning to see now as apprentices coming through don't even have any kind of basic skills in any particular trade. You know, I'm fairly self-sufficient. Yeah, I can wear a plug, proper curtain pole sometimes, etc., etc., etc.
But if you're saying apprentices at that age are coming in, they don't even know how to hold a hammer.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing we're experiencing. It's a, and this is why I raised the point about how we train apprentices and how we approach it. And I think as an industry, we need to do some serious work on it. They're coming in lacking not only, I think, life skills, but the very, very different people, the way the people that were asking them, the people we're asking to train apprentices, a very different generation, have a very different approach. And we're not going to maximise apprentices. We're not going to train them well or quickly unless we adapt a little bit. And that's no disrespect to either the skilled fitter who's training them or the apprentice. It's just this, like you said, this massive generation gap that's being created by what young people expect the future's going to be, and in actual fact, what the best future for them is. And
what it does, it gives them a false sense of either entitlement or expectation, because they come in and go, "Oh, this is hard work. This is no, I don't want to do it. I don't like this. I didn't expect to do it." They're not giving, and this is where I have a problem with education in general. And you raised a good point. I think we're on the Certas forum. Who's training the trainers?
Yeah.
Schools in the same position. They're not. I mean, this is life in general. I don't think schools are teaching kids. They're teaching them subjects, but they're not creating well-rounded people ready for real life. They're not teaching them cooking. They're not teaching them finance. They're not teaching them about mortgages, how you buy a car, how you buy a home.
Not teaching life skills.
No, it's life skills. That's what I'm looking for. I didn't get any of that. When I did business A level, the teacher was using this ridiculous analogy of how running a business is like making a cup of tea. I think, what the bloody hell are you on about? I don't want to know about making a cup of tea. I want to know, how do you apply for a loan? How do you actually set up a business? Company's house, VAT, all the actual really important stuff you need to go about life. We weren't taught. Cooking, for example. I know this isn't fitting windows. Cooking. I weren't taught cooking, and I'm telling you now, if we were taught, we'd be better people if we were taught cooking. I know that sounds daft, but I really do think it would have made a difference. Relying less on takeaways and shit food you shouldn't be eating, and Although I had a burger for lunch. So
Just listen to your mother more.
But you understand what I'm saying? Life skills. They're not getting life skills, so they're not prepared for the world of hard work. That's not their fault. They don't know any different.
And that's exactly what I'm saying. That we're at that stage, particularly in trades, where we've got a clash, and we've got pretty much the old school with the skills and the experience that we need to take advantage of and maximise before they retire and leave the industry. These are the people we're expecting to train, these almost them alien young people. And that, you said this, and you were unsure when you were talking about it, saying, is it these young people entitled? I don't actually think they are entitled. I just think
the ones at uni are.
Yes, yeah, I would probably agree with that. I think if they kind of leave after GCSEs or whatever, I just think they've been failed because they've not been made aware of what it is realistically to live in the real world. A lot of them walk out, and partly this is society's problem, partly they walk out thinking, all they need to do is make a few TikTok videos and they can earn £1 million a year. But that's got to start at school.
I'm going to try that, by the way. DGB's coming to TikTok. I've got a TikTok account now. Expect videos soon.
So yeah, but I mean, that's a whole nother debate for another night.
It is life skills, though. They're not getting them. They're not getting. When I mean life skills, I don't just mean cooking. I mean woodwork. I mean electricals. I mean
wire a plug, change a fuse.
Yeah.
Not even that, but understand why your hot water's gone off.
Or how you apply for finance, for example. We don't do finance. We don't teach kids finance, yet it runs the world. How you apply for a mortgage, how you get a loan, why we build houses to own, not to. They don't get any of that. So then they come into the real world and go, "What's a mortgage? How does it work? How do you apply for it?" And they're in the mid-20s and they don't know what to do.
Yeah,
that's insane.
It's crackers. But are you and I tonight going to solve the whole education crisis? I doubt
bloody
it
hope
very
so.
much.
We spent 2 hours talking about it. I mean, Callum's raised a good point here as well, and then we'll probably wrap it up at 10, so I've got a few more minutes. I think the issue is job shaming. Being told you'll be working in McDonald's if you don't study never helped anyone. We've all eaten there. Nothing shameful in earning money and working. He's got a good point. I tell you what, McDonald's workers aren't badly paid either.
And they have actually got a good degree program as well. And in that you don't actually have to have a degree, but have a good management program.
Callum's got it in one, job shaming. Being a tradesperson, fitting windows, being a joiner, being a sparky, there's absolutely zero shame in doing that job. Anybody who tells you otherwise needs a crack around the head.
They do.
It's Callum, that's the best comment at night there, right there. That's exactly what it is. It's job shaming. End that. Embrace. I mean, look. I mean, even pay grade. I mean, I know it's. Well, I don't think talking money is that crude anymore. I mean, look, window fitters are well paid. Builders are well paid. Joiners are well paid. These are good careers. Good career progression.
Really good careers, and good careers for a significant proportion of young people who, if they are not directed in the right direction and their talents aren't recognised, could end up not earning good money in dead-end jobs that they hate. So what we need to do is basically at school level start directing them where their talents lie.
Yeah, it's got to be at school level. Sixth form's too late. It's got to be 12, 13, 14 years old, showing them this is one path, this is another, and this is another.
Yeah, it's like the naughty kids being shoved in the corner because they're not paying attention in science lessons and all the rest of it. And it's like, well, instead of just saying they're just naughty, are we going back to the apprentice, train the trainer? Are they just not being taught right? Or are they not interested? Do we need to offer them something else?
Exactly. They might get stuck into woodwork. They might stick them on a bench, working with wood, and they might be amazing.
Yeah. The most skilled, talented person you can come across.
And this is the frustration so for my wife. She said, I know there's kids there who, if they did joinery, they'd be amazing.
Fantastic.
But their kids, the school's telling them uni, and they're like, they don't get it. They're just not gonna register with it at all.
Not their thing.
No,
and
exactly.
You shouldn't be forced into doing it.
Exactly.
And we're destroying young people by doing it. And on top of that, we are lacking skills, and we've got young people that have got those skills. We're just not nurturing them.
They've got them. They just need nurturing. And this is, for me, I think this is the be all and end all until it's got to start at the education system. I know as an industry we have to be proactive, but I think the work has to be done before us. It has to be at education level. So,
Absolutely.
Well, look, it's 10 o'clock.
Yes.
I actually really enjoyed that. So, Lee, you're sacked.
Sorry, no, Lee, come back. All is forgiven.
Lee will be back next time. We'll do another in a couple of weeks. Before we all go, the NFA Winners event tickets are on sale. It's the best early Christmas party you can have. It's at Doncaster Racecourse, November the 6th. We're going to be awarding trophies to the 2020 winners and announcing the winners of 2021, which is this year's campaign. So, if you're a finalist and you're in the shortlists, don't miss out on picking up a trophy. You might win. Buy some tickets. Come and have a good time. Have a really good early Christmas party. It's a free bar. So there we go.
Free bar.
Free bar.
Might be worth a drive down to Donny then.
There you go. There you go. So go to the NFA website. There's tons of information on there as well. I want to thank Abby for. I really enjoyed this last 2 hours. Thank you for coming on. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
And for anybody who's watching, thank you